Yep.
Happy days.
Okay, I'm just going to ask Brad again about talk about Chempress and the reason why you would go to press fittings in today's market as distinct with the old fittings.
Initially, the cost of the unit turned me off. I'm obviously in the later stage of my business career, but I did have a job that upon excavation there was 2 high voltage conduits come in, and there was actually the tower with 4 internet/telco providers had their cables in through there as well. So, and my pipe was leaking next to that somewhere, so we had to actually find it. And the problem was that if I would have welded next to that with an oxy-torch, I would have, God knows what damage I would have done to either the high voltage cable or the fibre optic. So I went and bought the Chempress tool. Brilliant. We had to cut a valve in so we could work out where the line was running, so we'd identify, because it was on a big, it was 1,100 square metres of concrete slab to try and find the leak.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we did find the leak, again, putting it back together with a 40mm press tool was genius. It was done within 2 hours. We were backfilled and the concrete was done. So at the end of the day, it was far better for the situation I was in. There was no burning. There was, as long as you had access to get the jaws in, you've got to have access to get the jaws in. But after that, no, it was brilliant. And I've used it multiple times, especially had to run a couple of hose taps up over 3 balconies in a place at Queen's Park, and again, a freshly painted house, and they didn't want to see my welding. The press tool was genius. You just set it up, pressed it up, made it up, dropped it in. There's no marks on it. You clipped it up, and it looks like it was up there from day one without any burning. Like, obviously, welding still has its uses, but the press tool, if there's water running through, you can use the press tool where you can't weld. So it's much better in that way. And these days, a few of the companies have brought out press fit valves as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually press a valve on and just turn it straight off. Yeah, so it's made our life easier instead of getting the guy with the liquid nitrogen out to freeze the pipe, or for us trying to poke bread in it and weld it up, which is a trade secret. You don't have to worry about the bread anymore when you're welding up. You just press a fitting on and away you go from that.
That's a big deal. So Brad was, that's very interesting, the value of the Chempress. But Brad, you were also saying that it goes up to 100 mil.
Yeah, I was at...
now, just for the people watching who don't know about the 100 mil, that's 4 inches.
4 inches, 4 inches, yeah.
That's a big pipe.
Yeah. So they had an issue initially. I spoke to, we had a trade show through Plumbers Co-op, and they had Kendall was there with their press tools, and their initial concern, from obviously that comes from Germany, the tool, was that our copper tube isn't heavier gauge enough or thick enough. But they've apparently got around it some way, and you can go up to 100 mil now with your press tool. So my big press tool, I buy the adapter for either 80 or 100 mil, and I can press 100 mil. So no more welding 100 mil pipe, which invariably on a quota job saves a lot of gas as well as silver, solder, and time.
plastic.
Yeah.
And so talk about issues, positive, negative about plastic. I, of course, represent the copper industry, so I'm fairly interested in the negative. But tell me about, I mean, clearly the plastic industry, we understand why it has got a market share.
Yes.
And that's gone up, and it's now on its way. We see it coming back.
Yeah.
What are the pluses and minuses?
Well, the positive is initially cost. You can rough in a bathroom for, I haven't even priced it out, but I would assume 50% the cost of copper.
Is that the material? Or
material and the labour still a press fit. The one I use is a PEX fitting and it presses on with a sleeve and everything else. So labour time is no different than a chem press, but it's the material that makes the difference. Obviously the T's and the fittings are all brass, so you're still obviously paying for those.
But when we look at the whole cost of job,
it's lower.
It's lower.
Yeah, and you run out with copper again. If it's not clipped properly, you get noise, whether it's hydraulic shock or some form of vibration, water hammer. Yeah. So I think the plastic has sort of eliminated that to some extent because it's a softer product.
We had sorry about inbred, but we had a case recently where we are having plastic water hammer and plastic pipes, which was causing, because the plumber was leaving a fair bit of slack in the system.
It would bang.
It was banging against the wall. Do you have that much?
Look, you have
to clip.
Yeah, just a clip. You realistically, the Australian standards say you should clip it up at 900 mils or whatever it is.
Does that happen?
By law, it's supposed to, and if it doesn't, then you're responsible for it. So if it's not done to installed as per standard, then or as per the manufacturer specifications,
it's 900 mil for plastic.
It varies between the plastic and the copper as well.
Like a bit longer.
Longer, yeah. But again, if the clipping is relevant because you won't get the bang. But in saying that, if you actually loop a pipe, you'll then take out some hydraulic shock as long as it's clipped up and it doesn't go bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
But yeah, like people don't understand, hydraulic shock is similar to when you throw a pebble into the water and you get the waves coming out. Well, that's how hydraulic shock works, but it's in your pipe, so that's where you're going to have the issue with the noise. But it's like anything, if you don't clip it up properly, whether it be copper or plastic, you will get noise transmission.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it comes back to personal choice. My concern is down the track in the maintenance world that someone will come to a job and there'll be a plastic pipe and they'll go, oh, what is this? How do I join it? How do I cut into it? Client wants a T-cut in for a dishwasher, for a hose tap. And if you can't identify the plastic pipe, the manufacturer, who it is, then you can't join it. You need to have the specific fitting for the specific pipe.
Yeah, I've heard that a bit. So the copper pipe, you can use the same clipping whether it's A, B, or C fabricator. Whereas plastic, you need to use the specific
fitting that's made and a tool for that. So you got to either have 5 different tools in the back of your truck for the plastic, and hope you've covered everything, or go back to a thread and then try and extend your line from a thread. So it creates a problem in the maintenance industry. I see down the track there's going to be a whole lot of issues. That someone will come there, they'll think it's something, they'll cut it out, they'll put what they think in is the right fitting, and then it leaks. Then you've got a problem. So then you've got to identify it. for me, copper is a better product. You've got obviously the internal bore of it won't let algae grow or anything like that. So if you turn off your house go away for 3 months, you know if it's a copper pipe that the water in there is going to be just as good as when you turn the tap back on.
Yeah.
You can't guarantee that with plastic because there's nothing to prevent any sort of fungus or bacteria growing on the inside of the pipe, especially with warm water. So these days we've got to deliver warm water to all appliances except the kitchen sink, so that water's got to be below 50 degrees Celsius. But you have to have water stored at above 60 for it to kill any bacteria or any fungus.
Yeah.
So then you've got the problem of it lays in your pipe, it's plastic, and will the bacteria grow?
Well, you know, one of the, you may be aware of this, but the copper industry's been using antimicrobial copper in hospitals to stop infections. Have you read about that?
No, but I had an infection last year, so I do understand about staph infection.
Well, you know, just as quickly, if you put a smear of MRSA or C. difficile on this and it's copper, it's completely gone in 2 hours.
Yeah.
If it's plastic, if it's glass, it's stainless steel or aluminium, it's there for 3 days.
Yeah.
And so in hospitals, what that's translated to in our trials, we've done a 3-hospital trial in America, 400 beds, that it reduces the transmission of infection by 58%.
Because it kills it.
Kills it. So it doesn't, you don't, that's how it's passed on.
Yeah.
So I guess the same thing happens inside the pipes, doesn't it?
Well,
so you're saying you don't get that bacteria.
No, and I think it's more a multi-story where I've heard in Asia had an issue where they ran warm water in plastic to all the units.
Yeah.
So there was no need for an individual tempering valve or at the apartment. So they ran warm water, solved the problem, no tempering valve. But apparently they had then bacteria growth was a major issue and they had to then pull out a whole lot of plastic pipe because they could not get rid of it any other way.